Hey folks, welcome to BizGp podcast. My guest today is Brad Strawbridge from Georgia. Hey Brad, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
All good. Thank you for coming over. Brad, why don't you talk a little bit about I noticed that you started owning this company, Capital Roofing, 1.5 years back around. So can you talk a little bit about how you reached here and where did you start from? Just a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Capital City Roofing, about a year and a half, and I spent the majority of my time in the corporate world. I spent a lot of time with Lowe's.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of started out with Lowe's as an hourly associate, and worked my way up to a general manager, and then worked my way up to a district manager over in-home services. So, essentially did for Lowe's what I'm doing for myself now. And then after that, I pivoted into commercial roofing because when I was with Lowe's, I identified that there are two verticals that are recession proof, honestly. And, they're non discretionary, and that's roofing and that's HVAC. So I happen to have a passion for roofing because roofing is one of those areas where once you get roof repairs or replacements done, most homeowners don't check the work, right? They don't get on the roof and check that work. And so that allows quite a bit of fraud to take place in the industry, unfortunately. And I'm a pastor as well. So people are near and dear to my heart, right? And kind of customer service, right? And so I have, my core values are, the biggest ones are integrity, right? And it's doing the right thing when no one's looking. And when you put a roof on, most of the time the homeowners they're not getting up there to look. And so it got to the point with the commercial roofing company when we were growing and we were expanding, and the light bulb kind of went off in my head, and I said, I'm going to do this for myself. And so my wife and I prayed about it for a long time, and she's my business partner. We started Capital City Roofing, and have been very successful in a relatively short period of time, and have had a lot of fun helping the community and obviously making money as well. I feel like there's a tremendous opportunity for us to take a significant amount of market share here in the greater Atlanta area, and that's kind of what we're focused on doing now.
Very nice. You talked about commercial roofing, right? So can you talk a little bit about, from a business perspective, the difference between commercial and residential, and in terms of how you go about getting those leads?
Yeah, so it's completely different when you think about residential roofing. Obviously, kind of business to consumer, right? It's more lead generation is more about marketing and kind of getting in front of the customer, right? Whereas commercial roofing, it's very much relational. It's about who do you know that can refer you to a property manager or an asset manager or an engineer or somebody that's managing these buildings, right?
Mhm.
And so it's important to, network and meet people. And then when you get your foot in the door and you have an opportunity, at least in my experience, what I've seen work the best is don't automatically just pitch them on a full roof replacement, right? Because when you think about a commercial property, the average ticket on those buildings for a new roof is very high, right?
Yep.
And so my strategy is always, let me do a free evaluation for you and let me give you an honest opinion on the roof. Maybe you don't
Mhm.
need a roof. Maybe I can do a life extension on that roof. Maybe I can get you, 3 to 5 more years out of that roof, so that way you can put that in your capital expenditure budget and be able to go that way. I've seen good success with that, just fixing people's leaks, right? Because
Mhm.
if you think about, business to business, their pain is the fact that they have tenants that
Yep.
have leaks, and and they're screaming at the property manager, right? So for me to be able to come in and find that issue, fix that issue for a relatively small price goes a long way.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about now that let's pivot to AI. I know that you are actually one of the few roofers that I am talking to who are using AI and who are proactively looking at technology as a way to grow. So talk a little bit about how you are using AI and high tech to fuel your growth.
Yeah, we're super passionate about it. AI is kind of one of those things that I feel like people are either for it or scared of it,
Hmm.
right? But it's all about how you use it. And I don't think that AI will ever be able to replace the level of personal customer service that you will get from a human being.
Hmm.
But what it does do is it streamlines complicated processes and makes inherently complicated things easier, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Just things as simple as customer follow-ups and
Hmm.
and appointment reminders and things of that nature. If you think about, in the context of roofing, it's easy for my sales reps to either forget or become too quote busy or whatever the case may be to follow up with their customers.
Hmm.
But if I can have an AI agent who's been trained in my company, my SOPs, my core values, those things, and then I put that agent on a follow up sequence with the customer, that customer gets great customer service because the great thing about AI is it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get sick, it doesn't forget, it
Yep.
doesn't make excuses, right? It just does the things that you prompt it to do.
Yep.
Um, and another thing that I like about it is if it does make a mistake or a perceived mistake, all you have to do is correct it once, and that mistake won't happen again.
Hmm.
Um, that's what we like it for. Obviously, those things. I have a really, really great AI agent that I've built. Her name is Megan, and she's probably my best employee, honestly and truly. If you go to my website, capitalcityroofing.net, you'll see a little orb floating on the homepage,
Yep.
and if you click that orb, you can speak to Megan.
Right.
And I'm telling you, Megan is a roofing expert. She knows everything there is to know about roofing, and she knows everything there is to know about my company. And
Mm.
so she can consult with you straight from that conversation, and she can book an appointment onto one of my sales reps' calendars, and then they can, do the roof inspection. It's really great stuff.
Nice. So you're saying that your AI agent, Megan, doesn't even book a call into a salesperson's uh, calendar. It's directly booking to a call, a booking to the calendar of the job. Is that what you're saying? Like, are you skipping the sales process itself, or is
I
she taking
can't
care of the sales?
I can. Obviously with satellite measurements and things like that, if a customer wants a completely virtual experience, we can accommodate that.
Hmm.
Um, but if the customer just wants your standard, kind of come do the roof inspection and then pitch the proposal in person, she can do that too. So we have it integrated into a calendar that's on a round robin, kind of the way that it assigns the leads out evenly to the different sales reps that we have.
Got it. Got it. Beautiful. Uh, So talking about AI and about roofing, what are some of the industry trends that you're seeing within AI? It doesn't have to be AI, could be technology in the roof? For example, roof inspection, satellite, you mentioned that. Are there any technologies that you are using there? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so AI and drone technology are the two things that we're really trying to become experts at. We're
Mm,
already experts at roofing itself, but we're now figuring out how can we become experts in these other technologies. The drone technology is super exciting too because there's some drones now that are pretty much autonomous. You
mhm,
can get the drone, you put the address in, it'll fly the house, very detailed, very close to the roof, 3 feet away from the roof, uh,
mhm,
consistently. So that way it's getting great footage of the roof. So obviously you can identify any anomalies or storm damage or things like that. But what it also can do is it has LiDAR, so it can do 3D renderings of the
mm,
home. There's also moisture detection. It can read the moisture in the roof to be able to identify if there are leaks present and the severity of those leaks, right? And kind of going back to um, commercial roofing,
mhm,
that's huge, right? Because if you think about the big flat commercial roofs, they all leak somehow, somewhere, to some degree, because it's almost impossible to have a flat surface with minimal drainage, even if you design just the best, kind of cricket designs and tapered takeoff systems and things like that. But these drones can find it, and they can find it a lot faster than you would with just kind of either the handheld device equivalent or even the ones that are on wheels and you roll around to try to find that moisture. It's really, really cool stuff. It saves a lot of time. Saves a lot of time. It's more precise, and it's convenient not only for us as a roofing company, but
mm.
for the customer as well.
Yep. And does it have any implications in terms of you don't have people climbing up the roof as often as they need to? So in terms of safety and all, perhaps it's safer in that sense.
It's a lot safer. Roofing is one of the most dangerous professions there is,
Mhm,
and the the more that we can keep people off of the roof, the safer it becomes. Inevitably you have to get on the roof to install a roof, but our sales reps, if they can fly a drone and that drone has the newest technology that it has, there's really no reason to have to get on that roof
mhm.
unless you need to get up there to really kind of manipulate something or diagnose it, open it up, maybe do a core sample or whatever the case is. But for the most part, you're right. I mean, keeping people off the roof makes it a lot safer.
Cool, that's awesome. Talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you're facing right now in terms of sales or marketing or any other aspect of the business in terms of operations.
So I'd say for us, roofing is one of those professions that it is saturated. There's a lot of competition.
Mhm,
There's a lot of people with roofing companies, and especially in Georgia, you don't have to have a license to be a specialty contractor. There is no licensing requirements for roofing contractors,
mm,
which is scary
mhm,
because you know doing construction on a roof is a pretty big deal. I mean, it's a large undertaking, and in my opinion, next to the foundation,
yeah,
the roof is the most important thing on a structure, right?
absolutely.
Um, and so that would be a challenge, just the amount of competition we have. Now, we kind of have figured out a way to make that, an advantage for us because we're licensed general contractors. So we can build a house from the ground up, and we can do it legally, because you do need a license to be a general contractor in Georgia.
Mhm.
And so, we can explain that intelligently to a homeowner to say, hey, listen, as far as qualifications go for a roofing company, we're as qualified as it gets, because we're licensed to build anything in your home in entirety. But we focus on roofing because it's what we're passionate about. It's what we're experts at. And so we've kind of have learned to navigate that to make it an advantage for us. And then, the other challenge would be marketing, right? Because if you think about the main avenues for marketing, Google, pay-per-click, and local service ads,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Meta.
Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Meta. The amount of ad spend that's required in a highly competitive market goes up, right? Because you
Yeah.
have more people essentially bidding, because it's a bidding platform, right? So to get a lead that's qualified off of one of those platforms sometimes can be, $500 to $1,000 lead cost. And then if you're not converting, then, that marketing expense becomes a burden. But that's another avenue where AI helps out,
Mm-hmm.
because
Absolutely.
we're in the process of building a system that's client acquisition. It'll be able to do a lot of the things that we hire other agencies for and things like that. The AI will be able to do that. It'll be able to automate that. It'll be able to, analyze, different times of days that the ad might work better, even to, the media buying, to the ad copy, right? To just all of it, which is really exciting. So I would say those are the biggest challenges that we face.
Got it. So talk a little bit more about you're saying that in terms of paid ads, right? You're saying that you can automate some of the stuff like time of the day and all. Talk a little bit more about that. Like, what did you give us a little bit more color on that? What you
Yeah,
thought?
so obviously I think, and this, if other businesses are listening to this, I would say my biggest piece of advice when you're looking at spending money on marketing, the first thing you have to do is figure out what your ICP is. What is your
Okay.
ideal customer profile, right? Who is it that you resonate with, that you sell better to, that you feel like you convert better with, right? And focus on those metrics and parameters, and who that customer is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Once you identify that, or even if you think and maybe it's two, then you can A/B test that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can leverage AI to say, hey, do some deep research on my market for A and B consumer for whatever specific service you're offering, and let me know what you find out. And it'll give you a bunch of data.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and from that data, you can really drill down on where you want those ads to go, right? What age group, what zip code, what are their interests, what are their hobbies, what does that customer look like? And when you do that, you'll see a better return on the investment in ad spend.
Mm-hmm. Great, great tips. Um, where do you want to be in the next maybe 6 to 12 months? I'm sure you have targets, revenue targets, and whatnot. Uh, Given that you have started this company 1.5 years back, where do you want to go to, and how do you plan to get there?
Yeah, so we definitely want to be multi-unit. We want to be in other states. We have our general contractor license in multiple states already, and so what I want to do is I don't want to scale too quickly. I don't want to open locations just to say we have other locations.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's foolish. I don't think that's fiscally responsible. But what I want to do is grow this location here in Atlanta to 10 million, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which we should be able to do in the next, 3 to 4 years. We did close to 3 million in the last 12 months. And that was, that was during the process of writing SOPs and doing all of
Mm-hmm.
this other activities that took away from just revenue producing activities, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so once we get to about 10 million, because after you after one location gets over 10 million, it starts getting a little bit more complicated,
Yeah.
um, and a little bit harder to manage and maintain the level of customer service that we expect.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we get there, then we'll look at opening another location, right? And then once that location gets to that level, then we'll look at, opening another location. But, I'm super passionate about what I do. I mean, people ask me all the time, hey, what do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? Things like that. And at the end of the day, me and my wife, we're best friends and we're also business partners and we're like-minded and we like building things. And so I've been blessed, to be able to say now that, you know, my business is not just my profession, but it's my hobby. And so, we want to take, you know, challenges excite us too, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
all of that just works really well together to say, hey, if I were to answer the question to say, hey, what's the end look like? I don't think there is an end. I think that, you know, I kind of want to keep going and try to build a legacy and try to help and influence and provide opportunities to as many people as we can.
That's awesome. I would say that's very inspiring to listen to something like that. Anything else you want to cover, talk about that I missed out on, Brad, about your company or about the industry?
No, no, not really. I think we kind of touched on it. I mean, I would say the key takeaways for me, if anybody, is watching this to try to find out more about me or my company, is the most important things to us is our core values. It is customer service. It
Mhm.
is doing things the right way, as easy as we can for the customer, and trying to save the customer as much money as possible. And that's why I'm super passionate about AI too, is because a lot of these repetitive tasks
Mhm.
that I would be hiring a, virtual assistant or, you know, whoever, right? It would be more overhead. And so for me to be able to run my business very lean and reduce my overhead costs, I'm able to pass those savings off to my customers. And when you think about the three things in business that when you really boil it down and simplify it as much as possible, there's three things that matter. It's the quality, it's the warranty, and it's the price. Our quality and our warranty are the best in the industry. There are some companies that are just as good as us,
Mhm.
but there's none that are better. And I say that because of our licenses and the certifications that we hold with our manufacturers.
Mhm.
We're able to get the best products on the market, and we're also able to offer the best extended warranties that are backed by the manufacturer. And then the third thing, and most of the time the most important thing to a consumer, price. We're able to, for that comparable quality, we're able to deliver a price that is better.
Got it. Awesome. And I guess your website, capital, sorry, I'm forgetting, capitalcityroofing.net is the place where they can find everything about you, right?
Yeah, yeah, they can go there. They can talk to Megan. They can, book appointments. We do instant estimates as well, so they can just fill out their information. We we have it automated to where we pull satellite imaging, and we can give a pretty good ballpark price on several different roofing systems in less than 30 seconds.
Nice. So that part is also automated. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for being in this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.